Hello everyone and welcome to another Quarrier Football pregame show brought to you by the local best. It's where to go before you go. Colin Beckler, Matt Larson with you once again, and we've got the Quarriers at home tonight against Lennox. Dell Rapids 2-1. Lennox comes in at 3-0. We'll get to the preview of the ballgame coming up tonight, but let's talk about last week first. Quarriers at home against Chamberlain. Quick start to that ball game. Second offensive play, a touchdown, had an interception return for a touchdown. 21 points early in that first quarter.
Yeah, what an exciting start. And I thought the same thing you did. A quick start can just, the first 5 minutes of the game, it was bam, bam, right? And that's always good for morale and keep you going. But I also had that the Quarriers really showed this game that they can rotate people in and out. We didn't have a whole new unit like the whole JV unit go in, but we had position players that were JV, so they got a little bit of time to run with the varsity offense, and that was good to see. The one takeaway, though, is on a team like this that we played in Chamberlain, our defensive line, and I know those of you that watched last week, you hear me talk quite a bit about the defensive line that, they need to, if you watch them, and I'll probably point this out tonight, they need to rush in and engage the offensive line. It seems like they're just kind of standing straight up, letting themselves be blocked. And, tonight and moving forward, we need to see some improvement there.
So, before we get to tonight's game again, I kind of want to circle in with the Class 11A. We're 3 games in. We're kind of starting to see, I think, where the upper end of the teams are floating towards the top a little bit. You can look at the coaches poll. Canton 1, Madison 2, Sioux Falls Christian at 3, Lennox 4, all 3-0. And then you've got Dell Rapids at 2-1 at number 5. The media poll is slightly different, but still the same teams. Canton 1, Madison 2. Media's got Dell Rapids at 3, followed by Sioux Falls Christian and Lennox. So again, we're seeing some of those teams rise to the top. What are you making of Class 11A here through about the first quarter of the season?
Yeah, it's a lot of playing other teams out of conference. Us for Chamberlain, and then going to Custer. Some teams have done that, but I have pretty much the same. I had Canton at number 1, Madison number 2. I put Dell Rapids at 3rd, and then I have Lennox. And because Lennox and West Central went down to the wire, I put West Central at 5 instead of receiving votes like in the other polls.
And now, Dell Rapids, we're getting into more of the meat, I guess, so to speak, of their schedule now. We started with Canton, tough team. We saw them right away. But now a couple of momentum-building games, I guess I'll call them here, with Sisseton and Chamberlain. And now we got a 4-week stretch coming up where 3 of the next 4 teams are in the top 5 right now. And it starts tonight with Lennox. So let's talk about Lennox a little bit. They had that big come-from-behind win to start the season at West Central that you mentioned. 2 touchdowns, I think, in the last 5 minutes to come back and win that one. But then they had their games against Custer and Dakota Valley. What are you making of Lennox this season?
Well, in reading what the coach had said in the preseason booklet, he says really his 2 things this year were to be more physical and to stay away from injuries. Now, I think every coach would say that, right? But why particularly did he mention it? They have 7 offensive starters back. They have 7 defensive starters back. So they're experienced. And a lot of those are on the line. So our position players, our quarterback, receivers, they stack up pretty well against the opposition. But so you're looking at the kind of offenses they run. And then just watching a couple games, you'll see the pistol. That's where the quarterback's in shotgun with a running back behind him. They run some option when the quarterback goes under center. And every play they have 2 or 3 receivers, but they only throw probably 10 to 20% of the game. They're mostly a run, and a couple plays they ran the Wildcat, where the quarterback would line up in a different position and the running back just a straight dive or a sweep or something like that. So they can do a lot of things that we'll see tonight.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of things they throw at the Quarriers tonight. So let's move into our keys of the game, again brought to you by the local best. Start with Lennox. What are they going to have to do tonight to remain undefeated and move to 4-0?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. That offensive and defensive line. They have experience. We need to improve. So the control of the line of scrimmage, number 1, right? The trenches, so to speak. Number 2, because they run a lot, and on film, that's what they did, they can control the time of possession. Keep it out of our hands. I never really saw any quick hits from them. Dell Rapids, we have thrown some long touchdown, quick hit type stuff. So time of possession for them, and also because they run so much in the first 3 games and the scouting, we look at those, I think they should throw more and catch us off guard.
Well, now for Dell Rapids, they're coming in 2 wins in a row. Nice win last week at home again this week. What do they have to do to keep this going?
Number 1, I mentioned it before, defensive line. Okay, we have too many tackles by our safeties, corners, and linebackers. So we need those front 3 down linemen to penetrate, right? Get low and penetrate in there. Also, we need to throw more. I think that we have some receivers and we have some offensive plays that are phenomenal. We need to show those tonight. And the last thing, and I think probably the most important thing, and I think it could go down to this, Matt, 0 turnovers. Quarriers cannot have a turnover because it's going to be a pretty close game, we both think. Yep. And that is probably number one that's going to come down to.
We'll keep our eye on that. That's always seems to be a big thing, is that turnover could make or break a game. So with that, any final thoughts about tonight's matchup? Should be a great one.
Yeah, the wind is supposed to not be a factor. It's going to be sunny, go into dusk, and the wind's not going to be a factor. We should have a good student body here. The last game was just so electric, and, the music's going, and, Drew Bunker's, behind the loudspeaker, and just everything. It was a great atmosphere, so I'm looking forward to tonight.
Final predictions for the ball game tonight.
Yep. I'm going to keep this one close. I do have Dell Rapids 21-14.
And I'm going to go one more touchdown for each team above that. I'll go Dell Rapids 28, Lennox 21. Again, you mentioned electric atmosphere last week. We want to see it again this week. So we'll encourage you. I know we love broadcasting. We like to see the viewers come out to the game. It's going to be a party. The Booster Club's got tailgate, food trucks, bouncy house coming up tonight. Want to see the stands packed, but we're here. We'll be on the call tonight. A little different. I'll be with you
Matt
this week.
To be with me. Yep, that's great.
So if you can't make it for whatever reason, or you're away from the area, we'll be on pregame about 6:45, kickoff 7 o'clock right here on Big Sioux Media.